So we want to go on to the perks of being a wallflower, which
Yes, came out
watched first time.
in 2012. Wow, it's 10 years ago. It's a film I love. On my last list for an ILX poll, I put it in among my, I don't know, I think we're supposed to submit 40 films. One of my 40 favorite films ever. I think I had it, definitely had a top 10 for the decade. Um, and I haven't, it's based on a novel and it's directed by the same person who wrote the novel, which I went and when I was doing the book, I checked that. That was more common than I thought. I said,
Mm.
well, that must be really unusual for a novelist to direct his own film, but it wasn't quite as unusual as I thought. Um, it's about this kid, Charlie, who, it's kind of mysterious for a while. We don't we know he's had some trauma in his background. We find out at different stages. At first, we think it's one thing, and then it turns out to be something else. He is moved to a new place and starts, or at least starts a new school. I think he's been at some kind of a hospital for a year. So he's been out of school for a year, or at least a few months. Starting a new school, totally out of place. He's an extremely shy kid. His sister is a senior at the school, and she won't give him any attention. Uh, and whatever reason, I think it happens at a football game. He ends up befriending this kind of misfit group, which includes Patrick. Um, First Patrick's in it. It starts off with the scene in their shop class, and Patrick is he's a senior and he's having to take junior shop. He's obviously not very academically inclined. I think right away he's gay. The teacher belittles him the first class, and he kind of throws it back at the teacher in a funny way. There's his stepsister. Would that be the right term? That's right.
Yeah,
Right,
I think
Scott?
that's what it is. Yeah.
Played by Emma Watson. Her name is Sam. And then there's two others. Just let me get their names. Mary Elizabeth, played by Mae Whitman, and then there's another girl. I forget the girl that wants to be the comic book artist. I've got a sort of abbreviated view of the cast here, so I didn't get what is her name. Anyway, it's not important. Um, Here it is, Alice. So there, she calls them the Wallflowers, and they kind of bond. Okay, and they just we see them at the football game, we see them at school, we see them at a party where Charlie gets, I think he gets drunk for the first time. Um, and he right away falls in love with Sam, the Emma Watson character. Um, she, we learn that she's had some trouble in her past, that she, used to sleep with a lot of guys in grade nine, and they would use her, and she got a bit of a reputation. We learned that Patrick is having an affair with the school quarterback, who of course is really macho and keeping it secret from everybody, most of all from his father. Um, and then in a weird turn of events, what's her name? Oh, trying to do too much at once here. Mary Elizabeth ends up becoming Charlie's girlfriend for a while. And that is ended in a very striking scene where they're playing Truth or Consequences, Truth or Dare.
Truth or Dare, yeah.
And he ends up totally humiliating her at this party because Patrick dares him to kiss the prettiest girl in the room,
Yeah.
and he ends up kissing Emma Watson, who's appalled too, because that's her best friend, or one of her best friends. So that's the basic story, which sounds very disjointed, at least the way I presented it. But it's also about Patrick's past being gradually revealed. So at first we think the root of his trauma is, and you would think this would be enough, it's that his best friend killed himself, right? Shot himself. Did he actually kill himself? I think.
I think so. Yeah.
So that shocks Emma Watson when she learns of that. And he worships his dead aunt, um, and we get little flashbacks to his interactions with his dead aunt. She died in a car crash that where he was in. No, he wasn't in the car. Um, so we think it's a combination of the friend committing suicide and his aunt dying in a car crash. And then, and I don't even know if I should reveal this. I think I'm going to hold off from revealing it. You may guess
There's more to the situation with
the
the aunt
story, and
than,
you may guess that, if you're really paying attention. I didn't. So the first time it threw me for a loop, and I almost thought it was a little forced. But when I watch it now, I do think the ground is cleared in a very logical way. And I do find what is revealed, the way they handle it, kind of moving. Um, and so that causes him to have a second breakdown late in the film. And this is kind of predicated by all his friends going off to university.
hmm,
They, they leave him back there. That's one of the odd things about the film. Whether you accept this, it's got the same weird dynamic. We've talked about this in connection with Dazed and Confused, where you have this group of graduating seniors who befriend a kid who's in
yeah,
grade 9. That would
yeah,
never happen at the school that I went to, I don't think.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and
yeah,
even, becoming romantically involved. He ends up being Mary Elizabeth's boyfriend, and
yeah,
he's in love with Sam, and she's kind of in love with him.
yeah,
Even Patrick makes a pass at him at one point. I mean, it's just a little far-fetched in that way. It's not, it doesn't, you don't sit there thinking, oh, this is ridiculous. You
yeah,
just kind of put it. So anyway, all his friends have gone off to university, and that triggers another breakdown. But what really, and that ends up where he has this moment of revelation, and he realizes what's really at the root of this problem. Um, so that's the film, and it's just really interesting. I could talk a lot about the film. He also has a really interesting relationship with his English teacher,
hmm,
who's played by Paul Rudd. I just I started a thread on the message board about movies about teachers, or at least with classroom scenes. And I just went and posted how I think the classroom stuff, the interactions between him and his teacher, handle really well.
yeah.
His teacher gives him books. Charlie's very literary and inspiring writer. Keeps a diary, sort of talking to an imaginary friend. And his Paul Rudd is always giving him books like The Great Gatsby, and I think it's The Catcher in the Rye. He hands him at one point. Um, and then at the end, he was going to go off to New York, but he stays, and Charlie tells him he's his favorite, the best teacher he's ever had. And he really means
Yeah.
it. Before I get to the music, Scott, did you notice two people in the film who've gone on to become very famous? I'm sure you noticed one of them.
Oh God, I don't know. I had the cast list up here. I'm trying to
It's
honestly
it's
find
not
it.
one of the principal characters, although one of the two actually has a somewhat
Ah,
key role. Not key, but
no,
he's
I
some
swear I don't know. I can't. It'll ring a bell when you say it, but I just don't know. I can't.
who plays Ponytail Derek, his
Oh
sister's
yeah,
girl.
yeah. Okay, no, I know who you're gonna say. Yeah, Ponytail Derek, who's in whatchamacallit, Succession.
Yeah,
His
his
character
sister.
is bizarre, actually, Ponytail Derek. And then the other one is I'm gonna guess it's I want to call her girl, but the woman, I guess, who ended up being in Ozark, right?
Yeah, Julia Garner.
Right.
And you do spot her. You see her for literally five
Yeah, she
seconds.
didn't. I think she might be in a second time really quickly. I can't remember,
Maybe.
but
Okay,
it's
you might
brief, whatever. So yeah,
when he's looking around at people the first time. I think he's sitting in the cafeteria,
yeah.
and all the people that won't talk to him, and he says something about her. They were in school. They've been in school together forever, but she won't talk to me. And we get just a shot of Julia Garner staring at it.
Actually, and I should just say I mentioned her in Ozark, but if you may remember, I told you I didn't finish Ozark because I wasn't crazy about it. But she's
Right.
great in The Americans. That's what is most
She's great in
memorable.
The Americans, even though I didn't like that subplot.
Yeah,
Um,
no, it's a difficult like thing to watch, but
Difficult to watch, and it kind of goes nowhere in some ways.
yeah, yeah, that's definitely true.
It's
Yeah,
just kind of weird the way they had it, but she's good in it. And then she got a lot of attention. This film, it was during COVID. She played. It was called like The Secretary or something,
hmm.
and it was a very unusual film. There was abuse going on in her office, and the way they present. At first, it took me two times to really appreciate the film. She's very good in that. Yeah, so two people. By the way, the Succession guy, whose name is Nicholas Braun, I believe.
Right.
He's one of the more interesting characters. The total suck up cousin, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, he's
He's one of the guys I think I enjoyed in Succession from start to finish.
he's kind of like an obvious foil though, too much. Like it becomes too much. Like like they have to bring someone into that world to give us a slightly different perspective. But I thought he was a bit overwritten in that. I mean, I liked
Okay,
him in
I can see
parts,
that.
but yeah, I mean, we've already exchanged ideas about Succession, and I'm
Yeah,
very ambivalent about that series in general. But he has
yeah.
some good moments. So
He's just a bizarre
yeah,
character. So music. Now, before I mention the song I picked, and I don't have any second guessing about this, I just think it's amazing. This is a key musical film. Like it's right there with, Adventureland and other films, or at least in terms of quantity. I jotted down some other songs of note. So you've got two or three Smiths or Morrissey songs in there. Asleep, which I guess is when he's listening to one of his sister's mixtapes. Teenage Riot by Sonic Youth. Did you catch
yeah,
that?
yeah, that was great.
So
Yeah,
where they're dropping him off in the car, and it's got a great line. I quoted it in the book. Uh, Emma Watson asks him to turn it down, and she says, turn it down, it's too loud. He says, so be it, it's rock and roll.
it's funny though when that line was said. I remember thinking, would they say it's rock and roll? Like it struck me as kind of funny actually. That line for some reason, I almost wish they just said it's Sonic Youth or something. I don't know why. I find it hard for someone to say it's hard to believe say it's
I know.
rock and roll, but maybe they were kind of ironic too, right?
He
So
says it in a really kind of gay, bitchy voice too.
yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
mean, you
So
get the feeling it's maybe necessarily not Patrick's favorite kind of music. It's probably
yeah,
just
yeah.
so be it. It's rock and roll. Um, the great scene with second key scene. I'm going to save that one. Lowe's Cracker, Crackers Low.
Oh
Is it?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sound like Chuck
Low,
Berry.
low is the
Maybe
band.
or is it Low by Cracker? No, it's
Wait,
Crackers.
oh, you're right. It's
Yeah,
low by Cracker. Yeah,
Low by Cracker, and it's used well. I think it's when he's arriving at
I
the
like that
party
song.
or
Yeah.
something. And that was a good song in time. Oh, and it's got the taking the record off the turntable, where it's later in the film. They're at a party, and Charlie's, no good boy, or Sam's no good boyfriend. I can't even remember the guy's name, who really has no interest in her except to get her into bed. Uh, he's he's a university student, and he says something. He says to Charlie, man, you've got morbid taste in music. He says, let's get this party
Right.
started. He takes it off and he plays Young MC's Bust a Man.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's great.
Right out of Quadrophenia. Um, Joey Ramone doing Christmas, Baby Please Come Home.
Oh, you know
Uh,
what? When that first was playing, I was like, oh
I
God,
bet
don't
you
tell
thought
me
the
they're.
same thing I
Well, I was
did.
saying, don't tell me they're playing the U2 version.
Exactly. I
But
knew
then
it
I could
wasn't
tell it
Darlene.
wasn't U2, and I wasn't bothered by it. But I didn't know it was Joey Ramone. Oh,
I
interesting.
knew it wasn't Darlene Love, and I said, "Oh, please, not you two."
Yeah, I hate that
Uh,
version so
and it
much.
was Joey Ramone. Yeah, it was okay. The
Yeah,
one
and
time,
I did think it was pretty good without knowing it was
uh,
Joey Ramone. So,
the one time where I did say, "Please, no," is when they use Crowded Houses. I can't. Don't dream it's over.
oh,
Something.
I don't even remember that. Wow.
Oh yeah, I hate Crowded House. I really do. They use an L7 song. I had my
Yeah, that
year-end.
was good. Pretend We're Dead, right?
And We're
Can't
Dead. Yep.
remember what happened in that scene, but that was
Um,
good.
remember when Mary Elizabeth is trying to seduce Charlie and she puts on an old record? She's, oh, I love old music. It's Robert and Johnny.
Yeah,
Back it
that's
up.
right.
It's not We Belong Together, the one that Scorsese used and the one that I know and love. It's a different Robert and Johnny song. And then I didn't even jot down the songs, but checking the soundtrack, New Order's in there, Pavement's in there, Galaxy 500's in there.
Mm,
Remember, he goes through a phase of listening to Sam's Nerf metal ballad
right.
uh, mixtapes. I can't remember which one's playing. All Out of Love. I
Uh,
don't know which
is that
metal
what it
band.
is? I can't remember. I do remember the scene. I just maybe didn't know the
Maybe it
song.
was All Out of Love by Air Supply.
That's Air Supply, but I don't think it was that
Okay.
song,
It
was
was
it?
something else. It was
Okay.
it was a 90s or late 80s metal anthem. Now, the two great, really great musical scenes. The one I think it's great. I would have easily picked this for the book if I didn't pick something else. Is where they're at the dance, the first school dance. Charlie's just, recently befriended them, and he's standing against the wall, and all of a sudden, a song I've never loved. I've always liked it, but Dexy's Midnight Runners, Come On Eileen, strikes up, and Sam and Patrick, her stepbrother, they just look at each other, and it's got a line that kind of makes you laugh because finally some good music,
See,
I just,
that's another line like the Sonic Youth, but I didn't have a problem. But I was actually wondering, and
yeah,
not that it matters, it doesn't change the scene,
no,
but I was trying to figure out while that was playing, like, were they kind of, were they sort of being like a bit mocked? Like they go and dance and they go dance
I
crazy.
think they love it.
They
I think
said finally some good music, but I was kind of thinking, yeah, but you guys are into all this alternative rock, and this is like 15 years after. Like, come on, Eileen, by that time was considered a sort of a radio cliche or something, right? So
okay, because I thought maybe the opposite, that enough time had passed. I thought,
interesting.
okay,
Yeah,
maybe if it's like 1989 or 90, they might have rolled their eyes, but I
yeah.
thought
No,
enough
you
time
might
has
be right.
passed. They might have just discovered this and think
I
that's
mean, the bottom line, there is a bottom line. They go out and they enjoy this, they
yeah.
do a great dance to it and stuff. So it doesn't matter what they're what they talk
I'm
about.
going to talk about another, and I've mentioned this every time I mention them, another musical, like really something that makes no sense to me. We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, and they go wild to Come On Eileen. And then, oh, they go living room dance. So this is something they practice in the living room.
Right, right.
They're great. It's one of those things where people are watching them and they've got all these choreographed moves. And
Yeah.
it's such a great scene. And then in slow motion, Charlie leaves the wall and walks out. And the song, oh, it's when the song slows down,
Hmm.
which is the song slows down. They go to Charlie in slow motion, walking from the wall onto the dance floor to join them, and they're ecstatic. And then all three of them are dancing.
Yeah.
It's such a great scene. Love it every time. Now, the song I picked, it's used twice in the film, and it's just brilliant both times, especially at the end, is David Bowie's Heroes, or the Tunnel Song, as they call it. So before saying what's great about it, I got to mention the thing that just boggles the mind when you
Oh,
see
I know
it.
what you're gonna say, I
Yeah,
think.
they don't know the song.
Yeah.
The first time they hear it, they're in
Yeah.
the car. It's on the radio, I guess. And she goes, "Oh my God, this is great. What is this? Do you know what, Patrick? I don't know. Do you know what this is, Charlie? No." And they go, "We gotta," and then she says, "We gotta go to the tunnel." And apparently they're almost at the tunnel anyway because the song's still playing. So that's another weird
Right,
thing.
right.
But and here's where it makes no sense. They don't know David Bowie's Heroes, but they know Nick Drake and they know the Shags.
Yeah.
Come on.
Even if they would at least be able to tell from the vocals that it's David Bowie. Like they don't know David Bowie's voice. Come on, like that's
If
pretty
nothing else,
distinctively David Bowie. I mean,
very least they would recognize the voice. But
yeah.
I honestly
Doesn't
believe
matter though in some ways.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It makes me
Yeah.
smile. I honestly believe it might be literally impossible because then they're exchanging tapes and she goes, "Oh, great. The Shags, Nick Drake. You guys have
Yeah.
real taste." That you
Yeah.
would know those two artists and not know David Bowie's Heroes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to know an odd, a David Bowie album track.
Oh yeah, like if they don't know the song, like I never, it's not like Heroes is
Heroes is famous.
singing.
So,
That's
makes me
fun.
laugh. Then they go through the tunnel and Sam pokes her head up through the, it's got a sunroof. And it's great the first time. Where it's really great is it ends the film. And the way it ends the film is, again, they come back. Oh, and I got to say, uh, this film, for whatever reason, just really gets to me in a couple of parts. One part I realized that I always tear up, and I teared up tonight. I'll admit this. It's where he's back out of the hospital again after his latest breakdown, and the doorbell rings, and he goes, and it's Patrick's there. And when the camera goes over to Emma Watson, I don't know why, something in that just reaches me. And I think it's just such a great moment. And, they go out together and she says, they go to a restaurant and they're talking. She's saying how great university it is, how great university is. And she takes out this tape and she puts it on the table and she goes, and I found tunnels. Must have been really hard. She had no massive internet search.
Pre-Google, right?
Yeah, that's another thing.
Or is it pre-Google? Do they? When does that movie
These
set?
Google search
Do they?
engines are already around, aren't they?
Well, when was that movie set?
Okay, L7 comes out. L7 was like radio on air, 90.
Yeah, like a lot of the yeah, that's 90s. I mean,
The internet's already around, I'll tell you that.
yeah, I mean Google came out like I think maybe a couple years into
There were
after
pretty good,
most people got on the web, like
were,
97 or
right, but
98.
there were pretty good search engines before that,
Oh
I
yeah,
believe.
yeah. But I
Oh,
couldn't even remember. Like they but it was the internet part of that movie culture? I just can't remember. Like
it's definitely the internet was not even mentioned once in terms of
okay.
it.
But it's probably on the cusp of that or
It's
something.
around, but probably confined to a few universities and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but anyway, she has discovered, she's found David Bowie's hero. So they immediately know they got to go to the tunnel. And the way it's done this time is they've got it's a pickup truck or whatever. He's in the back of the vehicle. And he's giving a voiceover monologue, an interior monologue, his thoughts. And it's very lofty, the stuff he says. I love it. It reminds me of the paper bag soliloquy in American Beauty, and that it's meant to be very poetic, and you might cringe. I find it moving, and he's talking about how I know that basically the thrust of it is that one day we'll all look back at this as inconsequential and silly, and people who are 16 who turn 17, or sorry, people who turn 17 immediately forget that they were once 16. He goes, but we're here right now, and I know this is important, and it makes me feel alive. And I think something, and I look at her, and I think you are so beautiful. And then they kiss. She pokes her head through the window, which is down, and they kiss. And then he says, and again, he continues, I should have just copied it all down instead of trying to remember. He says, it ends with him saying something like, and I know that we are infinite.
Mm.
And at that point, they go out from the tunnel into this. The first shot is Sam screaming out at the top of her lungs. It's a close up of Emma Watson. And the one thing I want to say about how they use heroes is I think both times it is as masterful as a director can be in cutting to a song at exactly the right second. It's the same thing that Adventureland's director, Greg Mottola, does when they use the replacement song. He cuts to the bus at exactly like literally the split second. And if you go and you play that again, Scott, the last heroes, they cut to Emma Watson at exactly, or they turn the music up at exactly the right moment. It's not like the music's already started, I think. No, it hasn't that time. That time the music hasn't started. It's only when they go out of the tunnel, they cut to Emma Watson, and the song fills the soundtrack. It's just so perfect for me. Tell me what you thought. Did I build it up too much, or did you?
No, I mean the only thing I would say about your description of the last scene is I actually have to take it back to the Tommy James scene because I was actually just a little disappointed. I thought they went to the credits too quickly for Hero. The
The
second
song continues to play, right? But they did go to
song
the
does
credits.
continue to play, I think. Yeah.
Oh, they
And
had
I
that.
just thought
They had that
the
beautiful.
filming was so great. Like I almost wanted to just
I
see the
know.
car for longer or something, even receding in the distance or something. I don't know.
No, I 100% agree with you because what we're seeing on screen is just beautiful. We see this night
Yeah.
sky of where are they? I looked up where are they exactly? They in
You mean
Pittsburgh.
like what city you mean?
Yeah,
Or
where are they again? I can't remember, but it's a well-known tunnel. I looked it up. It's in the book. I took
yeah.
the time to look it up. And we see all the signage, and it's just I think it's dusk, the twilight. The sky's got that beautiful bluish color to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they should have carried it on they could have easily carried on for another 30 seconds, but I don't regret because it is used twice in the film. It's used earlier.
Turn it up!
Got it, Your Highness.
Oh, we can be heroes just for one day.
And it's fantastic. And I love that film. I don't think it's, I'm not going to say it's perfect. I think it's kind of a quirky favorite of mine. You know, there are things that are probably a little cliched in it, or maybe not handled as well. Moments here and there handled not as well as it could have been. What were your overall
Well, actually, I
impressions?
have a question for you.
Don't worry about sparing my feelings. If
Oh,
you,
no, no. Well, I will talk about that, but I have a question. I was looking at the cast list.
yeah,
There's someone in this movie. I swear to God, I do not remember seeing this person at all.
okay, I've got the
John
list.
Malkovich. Where's John Malkovich in the movie?
Scott,
I don't remember
I,
seeing John
I don't
Malkovich.
remember.
Like,
I don't remember.
was he just, did he just pass by in a scene or something? Like, I just thought that was so weird. I'm looking at the
I don't
cast list,
remember
I'm like,
seeing him
John
at all.
Malkovich.
I wonder if he shows up on the TV screen or something. Nope, I have
Maybe
no.
something like that is weird. I've been thinking
No,
about him lately because he's in that show Billions and he's very interesting in that show. But
yeah, no recollection of him at all. We should mention she's such a great actress, and she was one of Kale's favorites. Joan Cusack as the
oh
nurse.
yeah, I
Or
was
not.
waiting for her because I saw her in the listed in the opening credits, and I thought, did I miss Joan Cusack? Because she comes in obviously near the end, right? So
Yeah, I just committed a real faux pas. I call her a nurse. She's not a nurse. She's a psychologist.
yeah, well, she's a medical professional.
She's the doctor at
Yeah,
where Charlie ends
yeah.
up. Trying to see, is there anybody else? Oh, you know who else is in it? This is interesting. Am I right about this? The guy who plays the shop teacher, who's funny in it, is Tom Savini, who I'm pretty sure, yes, Tom Savini is one of the most famous horror makeup guys. He did
Oh,
the
really?
Night of the Living Dead. He did Dawn of the Dead. He became
Oh.
Creep Show, became very affiliated with George Romero, not the original Night of the Living Dead.
Right. The
Tom
80s
Savini
version.
plays the shop teacher.
Yeah.
It's got this great moment where Patrick hands in his final assignment, and the clock just ridiculous. And the teacher looks at it and says, "You're serious?" He goes, "If you fail me, I'll
Yeah, you got me back next year. Yeah, because there's C minus.
Yeah. It's almost like Spicoli in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, where Mr.
Yeah.
Hand wants to get him out of the class, and he gives him a C.
Yeah, no, that's
And
pretty great.
Charlie goes, they all celebrate that.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to, sorry, the other cast, just let me go back to see if there's anybody else who went on to become.
I'm very curious about that John Malkovich. It's weird though. In the listing I have it, you must be, as you say, something on TV because for almost everyone they have the name of the character, but for him
They
they
don't
don't.
for him.
So you just got to be someone in passing or something. Or,
I'm going to follow that up. I think it's got to be that.
very bizarre.
I should mention Patrick is played by Ezra Miller, who I looked up is gay, so that's good. They have a gay actor playing a gay character.
He's
went
good.
on.
I really like him in
He's
that.
really good in this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw him in at least one other film.
He does look familiar to me too. Yeah.
Dylan McDermott plays the father. He's an actor, pretty well-known actor. Logan Lerman is Charlie. I think he gives a good performance. I don't know. It's an odd performance. You know, it's an interior performance. He doesn't really have any great cathartic moments. He does, but he's always on the edge of a breakdown, kind of. I think he handles the scenes where he's with Emma Watson really well. You know, he wants to tell her how much he loves her, but he can't. And Emma Watson is just, she's
No,
Emma.
I haven't seen her in much. I mean, she was mostly known initially, I think, from the Harry Potter
Oh, absolutely. And she will always,
franchise, but
he's basically, I think, in the same boat as John Hamm or anybody who's so strongly associated with one role. She's going to spend her life spend her career probably unsuccessfully trying to climb out from under the Harry Potter films.
yeah.
I saw her at least one of the film. I didn't care for her or the film that much. It was with Tom Hanks. It was kind of, it was just kind of this weird film.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's Perks of Being a Wallflower. And
All I would say maybe about,
I asked you general.
I mean, it's interesting listening, having listened to what you said about all of these films, because I do think, I mean, you've sort of created a genre out of them. I mean, they sort of are a genre in their own way, but you've kind of
I mean, I certainly didn't create
capitalized on that.
genre.
What's that? So I didn't catch that.
Certainly didn't create the coming of age genre.
No, but I think the way you sort of put them together. I mean, I don't,
Okay.
I'm just not sure if these films would have been lumped together by someone. And I think it makes total sense.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me because you're fairly rhapsodic, is that the right word? Like you really have a feel for these kinds of movies. It's
Yeah, I mean, this
I
genre
may
has,
be a bit more ambivalent on
no, I
in
totally
some ways.
understand.
I mean, I think I've told you in the past, I didn't like Squid and the Whale when I saw it, but
It's a
listening
very
to what you
off-putting
said
film.
tonight, I feel like, well, maybe I'd have a more of an appreciation for it the second time. I was a little disappointed by Street Hassle actually. But again,
Wow.
I'd have to see it again because I remember thinking it's one thing to sort of cut off the song because most films don't play, more than a minute or so in general.
Street Hustle's
Such a
what?
long, epic song.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that's just a really hard song to cut into a 1 minute thing because it's too, I mean, I'm really fond of that song. It's one
Yeah.
of my favorite songs in some Lou Reed songs in some ways, and it just got all these different parts. So I like the gesture of them using it, but I remember I was quite disappointed when it was the 50 seconds or the 1 minute. And just because of the nature of that song, too, it being such an epic in a way, it didn't work for me cut down to size like that. But I'd have to see the scene.
Something interesting is that um, Street Hassle was, I'm trying to think of exactly when, probably soon after the album came out. I bought it pretty early. One of my favorite songs ever. I think I had on one of those
Oh,
mix
really?
8 tracks or cassettes that I would play in the car. Now, long after, I can't remember the last time I played the song. The part they use in Squid and the Whale is the only part of the song I can remember. It's the
Oh,
part I love.
really?
Yeah, it's the part I love most at the time. Now it's the only part I can remember. I can't remember anything else from the song. I know if I were to put it on, I'd say, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah," but that
I know
is
that
so.
song
I
well.
didn't.
I've played that song tons and tons of times. So I love the Springsteen cameo in that song, actually. So,
Of course, Springsteen turns up.
yeah.
I think that would help explain why I didn't mind the truncation so much because
Yeah.
that
No, that's
part.
fair.
To me, the coming of age genre goes right up to and including in a weird sort of way the graduate to me. I mean, he's like
Mm,
an arrested adolescent or
yeah.
something.
Yeah.
But I also include American Graffiti. It's just such a broad genre. You
Hmm.
know, I'm trying to think of some of. I mean, Fast Times at Ridgemont High doesn't have that tone in that it's a comedy, but it's got this great friendship with two girls at the heart of the film, and
Yeah.
sometimes great friendship between two high school boys. So that's kind of coming of age film too. It almost includes anybody of a certain age bracket. I don't know. I just think it's
Feel
pretty.
like there's definitely like there's almost like a 1972-ish sort of tenor to a lot of those movies or something, or the late
They
60s
do kind of hark back to those.
or
Now,
something.
the most purely kind of coming of age film, and I think I liked it on TV at the time, would be something like Summer of '42,
Hmm.
which is like a blueprint.
Right.
And theoretically, I think a true coming of age film is supposed to include, sexual initiation,
Right.
loss of.
Right.
Most of the films that I'm talking about might they certainly will have sex as a topic of discussion or something, but I don't think none of these films tonight have that. No, I'm wrong. Mid '80s does. I think we don't see it, but I think it does in a weird sort of way. Come to think of it, I don't think any of that. Well, I don't know. What's your impression of Perks of a Wallflower? They were sleeping together, right? Him and Margaret
Yeah,
Smith.
I think it's definitely a sub theme through the movie.
And he has his first kiss with
Yeah. My last question about this then is, so if you can recollect, how many I could actually look it up. I've got the PDF up actually. I could do a search, but how many movies in your book how many just Bowie selections are there? Because there's at least two, right? There's the other one I can think of is Life on Mars. We talked about that long time ago
Oh,
for
for
one of the
breaking the
movies.
waves. Yeah.
Yeah, is it
Breaking.
just those two?
I think that's it. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's it.
Like I think you've mentioned him in as some of his stuff as
Queen
being in
Bitch.
some other movies.
Yeah, Queen Bitch was used in The Life
Like the
Bottom
Wes Anderson one, right? Yeah.
used a zoo, and The Martian used also Life on Mars, I
Yeah.
think. Uh, But I don't think I've ever seen, some of my favorites, Hang On to Yourself. I don't think I've ever seen in a film. Kooks, I've never seen in a film. I would love to see
Yeah.
Kooks well in
Yeah.
the film. Yeah, just the two Bowie songs. Wanted to tell you, this will make you laugh. When I was watching Perks of the Wallflower on Netflix tonight, and with the subtitles on, when Heroes came on at the end, in brackets, they had 70s art rock song.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that. Yeah.
And the subtitles
That
for
was
New
great.
Waterford Girl, both on my DVD and on CBC Gem, when Dragging the Line plays, the chorus is rendered living the life or living a lie, living a lie, living a lie. Both of them had the same mistake. They probably
That's hilarious.
CBC Gem just used the
Yeah.
subtitles from the DVD. How could you get that wrong?
It's the title of the song, people. Like that's
Yeah, you're right. It's the title of the song. And even if you didn't know that, does Dragging the Line sound anything like Living a Lie, Living a Lie?
yeah.
Oh man,
It's hilarious.
captions are often hilarious.
That's too funny.
Okay, so we've got, I think, 3 more after this. Scott, okay?
Excellent. Well, that was good, Phil. I look forward to seeing some of those ones I haven't seen. So
And my promise to continue to prepare. I felt like I had, everything I wanted to say tonight was at my fingertips somewhere. Okay?
that was good. Okay.
Talk to you later. Bye, Scott.
Talk soon. Bye bye.